to share some well-being tips with you again. What we're going to look at today is the gratitude jar. The point of the gratitude jar is really to make us aware that there are good things that happen to us most days, and the process of writing it down and keeping it in a jar actually helps to reinforce that into our mind. The gratitude jar should hopefully become a resource for you that you can use on more difficult days or days when you feel down perhaps. The idea is that it will make you realise also that bad things do pass and good things will come again. So in terms of how we do this, really simple. A jam jar, a box, anything like that, and inside it just cut up a few slips of cardboard or paper. Okay. What happens is you, at the end of the day, take a slip of paper out and write 3, maybe 5 things that you have felt particularly grateful for during the day. It doesn't have to be big things. Sometimes it can feel difficult to start this process because at the beginning it feels as though you have to have really big important things to write down, but you really don't. So if I give you an example from my day today, one of my things would be that I sat in the garden in the sun, or it could be that I had, for example, a chat with a colleague that cheered me up this morning, or I was in my shed in the morning with a nice cup of coffee potting up some plants. So those were like 3 things from my day today. So I write them down, pop them into the jar, and then if I'm having a bad day, I can open up the jar, take them out and read them, and just remember that things, like I said, things will pass. You can also use the gratitude jar to put in, if people said a nice compliment or said something that you've done that had been really nice, you can write that down as well. Another slight twist on the gratitude jar, which I wanted to talk about as well, was the self-gratitude jar. Okay, so I think sometimes we get to the end of the day and we feel as though we've really achieved very little. We tend to start off with a to-do list which is way too long, and we tend to underestimate the amount of time things will take us to do. So the idea of a self-gratitude jar is to make you realise again, really, when you're having difficult times, that actually you do get quite a lot done, and there's a lot that we can be proud of. So with the self-gratitude jar, it's the same process basically. With your slips of paper, you're writing on, at the end of the day probably, or you could do it as you go along, again 3 to 5 things that you feel you've achieved that you're particularly proud of. And when I say this, don't just think about sort of tasks and boring things you've achieved, but also think about how you've considered and looked after your mental health and your well-being as well. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples from yesterday that I did for this. Okay, was I cooked 2 nice curries for tea, okay, which is in these times of limited ingredients and shopping, a bit more of a challenge, so bigger pat on my back for that one. I went to the allotment and dug the allotment with the family, which was really nice. I did a tiny bit of cleaning, but not very much at all, because I decided it was a sunny day and I was going to look after my well-being, and my priority for yesterday was sitting in the garden for quite a long time reading my book, so I'm going to put that in as well. Okay. And then also, for example, it could be you've listened to something nice, an uplifting podcast, anything like that. So put it all in the jar. Again, you could include compliments in that as well. And there you go. On days where you feel like you're achieving nothing and there's no successes, you can open the jar up, have a look inside and remind yourself